The heart space is very important. Everything that we have ever been and all the places that we've ever been, the many incarnations that we've ever done is located right here in our heart space. Through time that we've existed, we've packed many things away in there. And now in this three-dimensional form, we've experienced a lot of trauma. And not everyone can go back into that heart space and open it because of the fear. I know there's enough of us that are awakening right now, and there's a whole nother wave that's coming forward ahead. Humanity is going to need a lot of help from the ancient ones. And I'm calling out to all of you to really step forward. The knowledge and wisdom and experience is going to be needed to assist humanity in punching through that veil and coming out on the other side.
Today, we're going to talk about many wonderful things like heart coherence and what does it mean to be an ancient one, as well as divine masculinity. I have my beautiful friend here, Delsol Etienne. Welcome, Delsol. What a pleasure to have you. I'm really excited to dive deeper with you. We've known each other for several years, and I know you've been such a beautiful role model and pioneer for holding the channel for everyone. Delsol is ancient light language activator. He is a multidimensional healer and facilitator of sacred heart space. He's an intuitive energetic healer. And as light language channelers together, we've been in many spaces sharing the codes, and your codes are beautiful, Delsol. So this is going to be quite a conversation today. So tell us more, Delsol, about yourself. How did you become an ancient one? Or what did you get that name for yourself?
First off, it is an honor to be here in this space, and thank you for holding this space here and creating. How did I become an ancient one? I think it was through remembrances that I've had, and that's going back into the heart space, and we'll talk about that. It is the becoming and the death and rebirth of remembering who I am. And eventually I went out on a search for my origin story, because we all have an origin story. And I kept going back, further back and further back. That quest led me deep within my heart space. From then, I realized that how ancient of a being that I am, through the remembrances and the curation of the energies that I was embodying at the time, and what all that I was seeing in that creation space. It took me directly back to the primordial fields of creation itself, and seeing that and experience that you're forever changed, and coming with the knowledge that the ancient ones are rising and that we all need to awaken the ancients. Here I am sitting here embodying that I am an ancient being, and along the way of remembrances is waking the ancients up from their slumber and allowing them to remember the deepest aspects of why we are here and where we came from and how far we have traversed many universes to be in this space here.
Beautiful. When you speak, I feel like you have a tendency to really pull people into that ancient space or that galactic space or whatever you want to call it. It's like a trance, like the way you vocalize yourself. Do you feel for you, as you started connecting to these ancient memories, has your frequency and tonality changed as you started embodying your memory? At what point did it start for you? Was it a gradual process, or it was something like that happened overnight? I know for me, it was like a long journey of re-remembering. And I know today, a lot of people accelerated that re-remembrance. Is that your experience and people who come your way?
The process was gradual. From when I was a young kid, I always knew and I felt that there was something greater out there, and that I was connected to something much, much deeper. And I was always on the fringe looking for that which we are creating and that which we are embodying. So over time, as I grew up, that feeling never left. It just got deeper. And I would find myself being in spaces with much older individuals and sitting there. I belonged there. As a 17-year-old kid, I was more comfortable in a space with 50-year-olds, having those deep conversations and feeling at home. Like, yeah, this is my tribe. That gradually increased over time. And then the search within, connecting to the stars and having astral travels to places that people cannot explain, until now that I met so many other individuals that I began to speak of this. It wasn't until, like, I would say 2012, when I was on Google Plus, there was communities experiencing it, and I would communicate, and I'm like, whoa, you did this, you did that. And I'm like, yeah, there's much more. And I've met so many beautiful individuals along the way who embody that frequency. As time went on, the astral travels, the frequencies increased and the intensity increased as well. I was becoming more and more aware of my surroundings and where I was going and exactly what I was doing and who I was speaking with. I was always around elders in a tribal, and the intonation was just always tribal. And it was always at the fringe, the end, the edge of the universe, or in the spaces between the universes where I would meet them. And they tell me, you have to awake the ancients. The vibrations and frequencies began to increase exponentially. And there was a point where it was just an acceleration, just went through, and it's just like, boom. Didn't have time to breathe. And at one point, you're just like, ugh. You take it all in. You're like, wow, this is happening. This is really happening. And then all these different beings were being shown to me. And I'm like, wow, why are they here? They're here for me to communicate. And then after a while, I realized there's a responsibility that comes with it. That was like the most jaw dropping, because we always say we like to experience things, but then when the reality of it sets in, you're like, holy shit, I am a part of this. This is me. This is who I am. And everything got really serious, because then you realize the work that you have to do and that what you're responsible for.
Someone who is just tuning in and they would say, yeah, so I'm having some experiences too. How did this astral experience happen for you? Is that something that you started experiencing naturally, or you were doing some meditations? I know there's different techniques to go there. How would you recommend for them to explore these territories? And is it necessary at all to explore that kind of way?
I like to think that it is a natural occurring thing. There are different meditations for it. For me, it happens very organically and naturally. I am exactly where I need to be for me to experience that which I need. And if I am somewhere, I need to be somewhere to either see, record, or intervene. For me, it comes naturally. Sometimes I set an intention of where I need to go or what I need to do. However, 95% of the time, I allow my higher aspect to guide me to that which I need to do. So I'm not like, I want to control, I want to control, I want to control. Like, no, allow the universe to guide me to where I need to go. The meditations that one can use, there's flute meditation, there's gong meditation, there's binaural beats, there's DMT meditations, various techniques. I would say whatever works for you and that you feel safe and secure with, Go with the heart and your gut feeling, your intuition, and allow it to guide. When you turn on that music and the resonance is not there, force something to be there that's you're not really resonating with. You'll know instantly if this is for you. If it is, allow it to guide you to where you need to go and experience that which you need to experience.
Beautifully said. How would you say someone can create that heart coherent space, that sacred heart space for themselves, so that they do drop into that experience even deeper? You mentioned intention as part of the process. Is there anything else that they can do?
The heart space is very important. Everything that we have ever been and all the places that we've ever been, the many incarnations that we've ever done is located right here in our heart space. Through time that we've existed, we've packed many things away in there. And now in this three-dimensional form, we've experienced a lot of trauma. And not everyone can go back into that heart space and open it because of the fear of the pain that they will
Mm.
experience when they go in there. If you're okay with opening that and facing the fear and the pain, the loss, the anger, the hurt, the sadness, the guilt, all that stuff, if you're okay with opening that space and going within, then you can unpack. However, there are those who build walls. When I say walls, walls,
Heart wall.
barricades. Yeah,
Yeah.
that heart wall, barricades, steel cases. Yeah, you're not getting in there. I'm like, okay, yeah, I see that. However, there's a process that takes time that we can slowly break those walls down and revisit and honor those emotions within there, honor those experiences because they are who we are. It is because of those experiences that I sit here in front of you speaking about this. We can't pick and choose which one to accept and which one not to accept. We have to accept all parts, the beautiful parts and the not so beautiful parts, the dark parts, the sad parts, the hurt parts, the broken parts. We're all here because of those parts, and we have to accept them all,
Mm.
whether we like it or not. It is who we are, and it is how we got here. And when you unpack that and you accept all of you, something magical happens. That doorway opens up, and there's a burst of energy that comes out, and you're like, I can breathe. I can
Mm.
breathe. You'll take the deepest breath that you've ever taken. You're like, you can keep going and going. The vastness, and you begin to expand.
I've just done actually a session today on someone who had a heart wall. It's a very prominent thing, and I've been observing that often enough the heart wall, often not only from traumas and things that happen in this lifetime, but something that's been carried through many lifetimes because the person has been a warrior, often masculine, and they had to shield themselves and they were on battlefields and literally I could see a knight with the shield or a ninja warrior type of situation. That tends to be something that becomes part of this soul karma that they have to process and realize. You so beautifully said this is the opportunity now to break through those barricades and to step into self love. Because I think it's essential in this awaken ascension journey, fully accept those aspects and love oneself. But it takes work.
It does take work, and it takes love for yourself. The one thing that they don't teach us from a young age, they teach us that we put love into other things, into a car, into others, into your girlfriend, into your wife, into this, into that, into sport. They never teach us how to love ourselves. How funny is that? So now we're getting back to truly understanding it, what loving ourselves is all about. And that is knowing the deepest and darkest aspects of ourselves and bringing it forward. And you're right. It's not just about this lifetime. It's about all the lifetimes that you've lived, not just here in this world, but in other worlds and other dimensions. We're bringing that forward. And those are all our experiences. And we have to earn that. We've earned those experiences. And we get to harness the energy from that into this now moment.
Yeah. I feel the heart is also the true connection to our divine self. Like the sacred space of the heart is a place I've dropped into many times. I've almost seen it like a white room or however you want to see it. But it is a portal. It is a portal to our deeper galactic selves. Has that been your experience too?
100% correct.
Mm.
Everything that we've ever been is hidden within there. Once you breach that barrier, your divine self, the connection, the most ancient aspect of you is there. And we have cut ourselves off from that beautiful being, how divine we are, how we're all connected. I always say before language, there was sound, vibration, and frequencies, and those frequencies emanate from the heart space. Huge generator of the frequency of love
Yeah.
and connection from the divine.
They've done studies. The heart has the biggest electrical magnetic pulse
Field. Correct.
field.
It
Yeah.
generates a magnetic field and it goes around us. Yeah, you're absolutely correct.
The heart is the first organ that is developed in the body when the baby is growing. So it's just so fascinating how, even on the biological level, how we created such a smart, divine orchestration of the
That is.
connection. Yeah.
And now we see why the heart space is so important, because we hide everything in there, everything that we've ever been,
Mm.
everything that we've ever done.
Mm.
That's our origin story. It's there.
Definitely. Tell us about your projects now. I know you've worked on ancient ones, and now I know you involved in these divine masculine circles. We were just talking about the warriors and why it's so important for them to open their hearts.
Yes. We started the ancient one as Michael, Fabian, and myself a few years ago. And we were bringing through the frequencies of the embodiment of what it truly means to be an ancient one when we sit and we speak and we teach, because ultimately we're here to teach the old ways to the new. The old ways, there was a time where we used to gather in a circle around a fire and settle our differences amongst the tribes. That has been lost, but that time now is returning. And it is a time for the tribes to gather once again. All tribes of creation are being called to this circle to honor themselves and each other and put away their differences and co-create and build like how we used to build, like how we used to create and honor the land in which we sat on. We've grown apart, and the ancient ones are here to teach the old, those old ways. In every indigenous prophecy that's out there, there's stories of the star elders, the star walkers, and the ancient ones. Those stories speak that there'll come a time when the ancient ones would rise again, and the time is now. It's now upon us, and we're all here stepping to the forefront with each and every day that passes. There's a call that went out, and each time one awakes, the field gets stronger. The circle is fortified with each remembrance, because we each bring a piece of the puzzle to this circle. And it lights us all up in that remembrance. Like, yeah, I remember you. I remember you. And it goes on and on. So that's what the Ancient Ones was about. The many collaborations that I'm doing is here, sitting here and speaking my truth authentically, my authenticity, my totality, bringing it to the forefront and speaking about the ancient days, the old days, and embodying this elder energy that's within me and owning it. And that's something that we all have to do when we sit here and we speak. We have to speak the wisdom that's within us, the knowledge that's here. That's why we're here, to tell our story. And we each have a piece of puzzle to say. I don't know it all, but I know that there's a circle that's around me, that's forming, that is morphing each and every day with knowledge, with the remembrances of who we truly are and what exactly we are here to do. And that is the constant death and rebirth of the old. And it has been accelerated time and time again. Now that brings us to the divine masculine course, that
Right.
space that is much needed, a very vulnerable space that is much needed for the masculines to really sit in and understand. Because over the years, I know we're moving into the age of Aquarius, where it says the rise of the feminine, and it's beautiful. I look in these circles and there's so many divine feminine that they are curating and healing and speaking the truth. And it is a beautiful experience. When I step into these spaces, I look around and I look for the masculine. It's usually myself and maybe two or three others in these circles. And I'm like, yeah, we need to do something about that. We need to create a space that is vulnerable, but safe for the masculine to sit in, because there's a balance that needs to happen on this world in order for evolution to really take hold and move forward. We have a balance of the masculine and the feminine. The feminine is that of creation and nurture, manifestation and beauty. The masculine, protect and hold space for the feminine so they can grow and do what they need to do. In that sense, there's a lot of trauma and wounding that comes with the masculine.
Mm.
And I see that the feminine is doing their work on healing and building that space and allowing that point of creation to step forward. But they're not here to do it by themselves, because you need that balance.
There's a beautiful prophecy. I think it's called the Hopic prophecy. You probably heard of it. And I love it because it really nicely brings the metaphor what you're talking about. So the prophecy goes that humanity is like a bird that has two wings. The feminine side, its wing has been clipped. It's always been down all these eons. And then the masculine is up here, it's dominating. So the process that we're going right now is the feminine is unclipping its wing and it's bringing it up, and the masculine has to orient itself and bring it into the same balance in the middle. And only when both of these wings are in that alignment, that's when humanity will soar. That's the process you're just describing here.
Yes, it is the process of balancing the energies within. When I first came online totally, I was at war with everyone.
Mm.
I was in my warrior mode. And for a moment, I didn't know how to come out of it. And I wanted to come out of it. I wanted to put my sword down. I wanted to put my shield down,
Mm.
but I couldn't,
Mm.
because it was that trust factor.
Mm.
Then I reached out to a friend, and the first thing said was like, you need to put your sword down. I was like, I want to, but I don't know how to let go. I want to. And I sat there and I cried. I'm like, I want to let go. How do I let go? And that's the process of letting go and putting it down,
Mm.
and being able to put that down and be in a mood of pure receptivity. How to receive love that you don't know that you need. That was my first lesson. And when I put that sword and my shield down, I'm like, I was able to feel love at the deepest level for the first time. And it was beautiful. I purged and I cried. I cried. Many nights I was on the floor crying. Thought I was meditating, but I was crying. But it was tears of joy and release that I was able to let that go and embody the love that was trying to come back to me. But I was shooing it away because I was always at the defense.
I think that's the story of the warrior. And I think it's a typical story, not just for masculine, but also, I would say also for the feminine, because I find even myself, I'm in this feminine body in this lifetime, but I was also living a lot of masculine lives. Actually, most of my lives that I remember on earth, a lot of them were masculine, where I was powerful. I had to also, in some ways, put my sword down and step into the divine feminine and into receptivity to learn how to counterbalance those energies within myself. As I started that process, felt that alignment and also the opening of the heart and more energy, more kundalini flowing through, having all these kundalini activations when I was able to surrender. I think it's hard for those who like to continue to be vulnerable. It's also beautiful for you to share that, to cry, to open up, to purge all these layers of defense. I feel that's a process many of us do, whether it's a female or male. We have both of these energies within us.
Absolutely correct. It is to accept that which is within us, the balance. A lot of the times growing up, especially the masculine, taught that we not supposed to show our emotions. And if we do, that we're weak for showing our emotions, for wanting love, for wanting that cradle, that beauty. That has to be retaught on how to really embody that aspect of us. It has to be a safe space in order to do that. In society, in today's world, if you cry, you're weak. There are statistics there out there that you ask a man, who does he go to for help? And you're like, nobody. That has to change. You're thinking it is, whoa, yeah, that has
Yeah.
to change
Yeah.
because the most vulnerable thing that any masculine can ever do is to ask for help. We're not here to do this by ourselves.
No.
As we were taught growing up as a kid or growing up in the community is like, hey, no cheating. You have to do this. You can do this. You have to do this on your own. No, we can ask for help now, but we have to learn how to ask for help.
Yeah. It's a cultivated practice and allowance and being okay if others reject you, being okay if others call you names, because these conditions the society has created, the superficial conditions of how we need to be versus what we are really, like the authentic selves. With that said, I would love to talk also about the ancient light language and how that activated for you and how that is helping you in your work. Maybe you can also share a short transmission with us. That would be really wonderful.
I would be honored to do that. As I was in these communities, I began hearing light language. And I'm like, I know that. Why do I know that? And why does that resonate? Over time, I began exploring. One night, I found myself going through a door. I opened the door and I found myself in the middle, in the center of the universe. I was there in a sphere, my Merkaba, and I was just looking around. And then all of a sudden, all these symbols came rushing into me. All these galactic symbols from every corner of the universe came and they started wrapping around my arms and into my bones and into my DNA. And I was just there and I was just receiving all these codes. And I'm like looking at myself and it's all over me and it's in me. And after that meditation, I was in the shower and I started speaking, and was as you and I speaking right now. And I recall that as I was a kid, I would be saying these things, but it was counted as gibberish. I don't know what I'm saying, or I don't know what I'm talking about. And as a kid, you don't know any better because you listen to your elders, of course. As time went on and I entered these communities and I started speaking, there was resonance in the frequencies of others. It's hard to explain because it just reverberates back into you and your cells. My cells just began vibrating immensely in recognition of others. I remember when I first entered your room on Clubhouse,
Mm.
after the fact that it's like, hey, Delsol, you need to be seen. I was like, I can't be seen. Like, yeah, you do. You have to be seen. I was like, no, it's scary because, again, that's another vulnerable because you're putting forth your truest expression of you. And no one gets to see that, right? Yeah, they do. And I remember going into your room and I was just like, but why am I here? I'm hearing all these different dialects. And I believe you had pulled me on stage, and I was like, I don't know what to do. I was a nervous wreck. My palms were sweating, and I was just sweating, and I was just
Stage
there.
fright.
Yeah, it was stage fright, but no one can see me. But that's how I felt, that everyone could see me. And I was given the opportunity to speak. I unmiked and I spoke. And I was just like, whoa, I did speak. And I believe it elicited a response from Celeste,
Mm.
and the whole dynamics just changed. And I was just like, wait, I know her. And that's how it began. And then you chimed in. And then I was just like, I became a little bit more comfortable.
It's like validation and mirroring, and someone actually is listening to your frequency. It's such a beautiful, deep way.
Yes. And it is not only that, but you can bring that frequency out of others because you're empowering them to
Yeah.
be the truest expression of themselves. It is something that is cultivated over time. And I understand that we all came in with the frequency of our own and the vibration, our heart song that we've incarnated over and over again. That frequency never changes. It is the essence of us, the purest expression of us. So when we sing with our hearts,
And we speak for the
yeah,
heart.
yes, we speak
Yeah.
with the heart.
Full heart.
Senetoro oton te hesheregia te. It speak with the frequency of the heart.
Beautiful. I see
It's
you, brother. I feel it gives us this permission to express ourselves beyond this limitation of the earthly language. Because the way I can express my gratitude for you is so much more expanded.
the rooms that you hold each week.
Yeah.
It is a gathering place. It reminds me of an inn in a little town that people come by and they stop. And that's the place that they need to be for that moment, to let their shoulder down and just breathe for a minute. Honored that you hold space there just like that, for those moments that when it's time to just be and that space is allowed and it's there. So gratitude to you for being who you
Yeah, yeah,
are.
that it's very interesting how that space got open during the whole COVID era, and we had this app called Clubhouse that allowed these virtual spaces to be created. I was at Mount Shasta when my light language fully activated 2019. All the quarantines have started. And it was such a validation because end of that year I went to Shasta, and when I had a connection with Lemurian beings in Shasta, they told me you have to activate the ancient ones. It was the same message. You have to activate this language for others. You have to bring it into some platform, and Clubhouse turned to be that platform that was available. And it's amazing how we tend to gravitate with a soul resonance to certain places and certain individuals in that room. It was like my commitment to myself and also commitment to these beings that this room will be there. And I, till today, hold it dear for myself to recalibrate, to share, to co-create with just few individuals that became really close. This podcast and this room called Soul Communication. This podcast was born out of this clubhouse room. Its next iteration of sharing our truths from that bubble into the world now for others to hear. I think just an example of these spaces that we can create, no matter where it is. You can create your own circle wherever you are with your group of friends, whether you speak light language or not. It's just ability to share these experiences that are happening for you. There is something very special about having these circles by the fire tribally to rekindle these circles wherever we are. I continue doing that virtually and physically now through classes, and I feel it's important to hold these spaces for others.
Absolutely 100% correct. It is very important, not only that, but that we embody all of who we are and we walk with the authority that we generate around us, that presence, and not being afraid to be our authentic selves in public. Because I speak everywhere I go. I leave messages where I need to leave messages. If you don't understand, I'm talking to your heart. Your heart understands. In a few weeks or a few months, maybe next year, you'll get the inclination to follow your heart space, and then it'll take you on that journey. So it's not being afraid to express ourselves in our totality wherever we are in that moment. And that's what it is. And then by doing that, it'll bring everyone back to the circle.
Love Ripple is an umbrella of this bigger vision that I had many years ago when I started creating schools. Every moment we get to interact with someone, we exchange in that love, we throw in like that pebble into the water, and then it creates ripples. So if we can have that one impact on one individual in that moment, that person is going to go somewhere and they're going to create a ripple, and then someone else is going to create a ripple, and that's how this love ripple is going to manifest itself. You can be at the gas station having a conversation, your car is getting pumped, or the retail store, and just everyone wants to connect, especially through the pandemic. People really realize what it's like to be isolated, and they're really much more grateful to connect in those moments and have that smile, that conversation, and see that someone actually cares about them.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. It is on this journey. It is beautiful to see old friends again from a time long ago when you feel that vibration, that spark lights up in their eyes. It is a thing of beauty because they're now remembering the vastness of who they are.
Mm.
And they're like, I know you. Where do I know you from? Listen to your heart. And it's good to see you again, old friend. That gives something, and that adds to their perspective of how they see themselves and their experience here in this world versus what they're feeling in their heart space. When we connect at that level, that's where we're connecting through that sacred portal.
So you think in the moment of recognition, when they say, I know you from somewhere, is it that they really know you, or perhaps they tap into a certain frequency bandwidth that you carry, like certain codes that help them to ignite and maybe remember themselves?
When someone says, I know you from somewhere, it is that moment that they're opening up to that vibration around me. And they're like, I know you.
Mm.
Where do I know you from? Before that doubt starts to set in, you can see in their eyes that light just turned on. And then they start going back, and maybe it's someone else, but it's like, no, it's not. But it's good to see you again. And I just leave them with that.
Love that. I experience sometimes what I call entrainment. I wonder if you experience that too. It's similar to what you're saying, but in the moment when you're talking to someone, they literally feeling how your field is activating them. So it's whether your sacred geometry or the way we talk, and we tend to entrain people through. And I know you have that also tonality. So you literally put them in a trance. I do too, real time. And I get that a lot. Oh, I feel like I'm in a trance after talking to you. Entrainment is a real thing because I think that also helps them to shift their state of consciousness, or at least tap into another frequency bandwidth of possibilities.
Yes, it is that it's within our field. It's in our auric field because we initiate change and activations wherever we go in that space. And sometimes it's like a vacuum just pulling them in, and they don't know why they're gravitating towards us, but it is that reaction. Hey, I need
Mhm.
this. And then boom, they get activated and they're like, whoa, what's going on here? Push them away and he's okay, let me settle into this here. What's going on? And then you have that recognition, that brief moment of clarity. We're divinely put exactly where we need to be to initiate that change wherever we are on this planet. And I know all of you guys are out there. That's exactly where you're at because we're holding the energy and putting things in place and creating and building. It's a
Yeah,
network.
it's a network, and we create in this grid through our codes and our unique signatures in various ways. I see it like layers of a cake. These nodes, these interconnections, and these resonances are happening. So those who tuning into this podcast, you resonated with my frequency, you're resonating with listening to soul communication, resonating with the soul. There's a reason why you're here in this moment listening to this, because your soul magnetize you to this unique frequencies that we carry, because you also have it. So listening to law of resonance, I feel, is really important. I don't so much believe in synchronicity. I feel like everything meant to be as it meant to be. Everything has a reason. There is definitely that magnetisms and harmonics that the soul recognizes.
Exactly. We're exactly where we need to be, doing what we need to do at any point in time. And that is expanding the fields around us and others' expansiveness, allowing them to become aware of their own vastness within. So every step forward is a step for us all, and it is a step for humanity.
So where do you think humanity is going with all the talks and changes in 2024 and beyond? Curious what
There,
information and downloads you received.
the information that I like to look at it is like to be in the flow. There are many ways that are coming. I see many potentials that
Mhm.
are happening that humanity can go this way, they can go that way, they can go up, they can go down. It's all up to choice and how everyone chooses in that moment. I know there's enough of us that are awakening right now, and there's a whole nother wave that's coming forward ahead. Humanity is going to need a lot of help from the ancient ones. And I'm calling out to all of you to really step forward. The knowledge and wisdom and the experience is going to be needed to assist humanity in punching through that veil and coming out on the other side. There's a great many things that are going to be taught and going to be brought from the old ways of doing things. The time is ahead. It's going to be beautiful co-creation of the old and new.
I agree with that. I think there are these timelines, like you mentioned, and we'll see where we go with that.
It's all about choice, and all choices must be honored, whether we like him or not. Yes, choice.
In the choices that we make, I think the key is to stay authentic in your choices to ourselves. There's the light, the dark, but ultimately, I think it's important to integrate and find that middle ground somewhere.
It is important to have that balance. We can go left, we can go right. However, it's how we come back and return to the center is how we operate. Because we stray too far to the right too long, we forget there's a left and then there's a center. It's to walk in balance 24/7, knowing that's the center point that we can return to.
Such beautiful place to be right now in our evolution, and there's so much ahead. I feel like where we headed, there might be challenges for sure, but back to your point about death and rebirth and resurrection, I think sometimes we have to burn through the old to really build this new reality, this new choice we want to create. And I think the ancient ways are the backbone of what we create. But whatever we create is going to be different. It's not going to be exactly the same. I think we weave in something completely new. It's a completely new tapestry. And in some ways, that's a challenge too. We have so many choices. What does it look like?
It is the old and the new combining into something great and something magnificent, something that will last through the ages and it'll carry them much further than they can ever imagine.
There will be tweaks along the way. I feel every civilization has risen and fallen. There's always these cycles, and through the cycles, we learning, right? The ancient ways were always modified, I feel, based on what has transpired back then and evolved into something different.
I've come to understand that nothing remains the same forever. It is constant expansion. We often have to be forced out of our comfort zone in order for us to expand. And right now, humanity is on the precipice of being forced out of its comfort zone in order for it to expand into something great and something beautiful.
Will happen. Maybe not exactly how we perceive it, but I think ultimately it will come out into, we are headed into this, what they call golden age, right? We've supported by the stars and the codes. I feel like we are supported in this awakening journey right now more than ever. I'm very optimistic now, knowing that our future is bright, but we will learn and we will weave this beautiful new carpet. So there's a lot ahead of us.
Yes, I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to this evolution of man and where it's going to take us. I'm really looking forward.
Thank you, Delsol, for being the pioneer of helping the masculine to bring its wing down and find its way and find its orientation in this whole change. Because, yeah, we need more divine masculine like yourself to re
And I'm
remember.
going out. I'm going to go out and find them and bring them to the circles.
Yay!
Yes.
Yes.
So
I'm
it
doing
is an
that on the
honor.
feminine side and doing it on the masculine, and somewhere in between we'll meet together and just
Yes, we'll
balance the
always come
equation.
back. We'll always come back to this circle. It is always an honor to be in
Thank
this space with you.
Same. Thank you so much, Losol. Thank you for being here with all of us.
Thank
And
you. Journey.
see you all in the next episode. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for watching. Click on one of the videos below to see our other episodes and don't forget to subscribe.